Hello, hello, hello. Welcome to another installment of CAV HQ Live. I am your host, CAVBOSS. Zip with Zip. Just another episode of CAV HQ Live. A Wednesday night, 8 o'clock Central Time. Be there or be square. Hanging out with my homies. Hello, JS Twitch. You know, they have medicine to take care of that. Get rid of that twitch. Make you so nervous. Woo-hoo. So I hope everybody's been working hard on projects of one type or another. I know it's been kind of a little bit of a CAV play week. A lot of people playing CAV, putting up games, pictures, and like voila. Oh, darn, I got the odds again. I think it's because I drink a big cold bottle of water right before the show because my throat's always so dry from being out in the shop all day. Causes me to have the yawns. Need to work on my recon usage. Well, I kind of gathered parts of that from your posts. Hopefully, I answered some of your questions good enough. If not, ask them again tonight and you will get a live version. I spent the day, well, I say that I had half a day. I had to take care of some things with one of my boys today. But so first going between hot and cold, trying to work around the current weather and taking care of some issues at the home front, house-wise, that I've been trying to get squared away. But and I don't know if I think I talked about last week that I somehow or another managed to crack a rib. I'm working around that. But been hard at work too, working on the buildings for the new terrain line for the MDF buildings and stuff. And we've had a problem, and really since we very first got this new laser cutter, but it randomly wants to make squiggly lines when it's cutting, and there's no rhyme or reason to it. It'll do it one time and then won't do it, and then it's just a mess. So I've talked to the company that we bought it from a couple of times, and they're like, "Well, you're running it too fast." And I said, "Well, I don't think that we're running it too fast because we had another one and we never had this problem, and we ran faster." So I said, "Okay, we'll keep it." So we slowed it down, and it didn't go away. It didn't stop. So so I did some searching around. I found 2 or 3 reasons why it could be doing it. So I went in and tore the machine down and redid these parts and made sure everything was tight and everything. Still doesn't. So I started working on it again this afternoon, and it only does it on the y-axis, only when it's going this way. And finally, I decided that machine is moving. It's not supposed to be moving, but it's moving, even though it's up on its feet. So I went up to Orscheln's, which is our local tractor supply store, whatever, and they sell these 1-inch thick rubber mats that go into a horse stable, and cut some pieces down in circles, and we jacked up the machine, put those great big rubber feet underneath it, set the machine back down. It's pretty heavy, so it pushed down in there real good. And voila, the wiggle went away. So I guess just sitting on that concrete floor, even though it was up on its feet, was, I think because it's so big, so wide, I think that as the thing was sliding back and forth, it was using the weight against it. So by putting the rubber feet underneath it, it took some of the transfer away, so anyways, so that's cool. So we got that done. But my intention is I finally got the building kit, the first new one, the office building, apartment complex, whatever. I got that file done and had made a couple more tweaks to it. And by the time that I had to break to get ready for the show, I did not have all the parts cut. So that will be moved off to next week. I do have some though I'm going to talk about here and show here in a minute, but kind of show you the direction that I'm going in it. One of the big things about our MDF kits that, I look at it from my standpoint is all right, here's how I like to play. What do I need? And I really looked around and, we carried the TT Combat stuff there for a while, and I've looked at some of the other uncertain scenery and stuff like that. And they build a lot of cool kits, but they're all huge. They're all, for the most part, they're really big kits. And I know that, like, when I set up a city, I want lots of buildings. I want to set up streets and rows and stuff like that. So, great big buildings fill that up really quick, and they can look cool, but you really don't get that city feel. So, one of the things that we're starting off with, and that's, kind of this with the apartment building / office building, is, and working more within the scale to build, lots of smaller buildings, so that, that you get these in and can put these together, and it's not, you're not paying $15 a piece for these little buildings, one at a time or whatever. Because I know, from the TT Combat stuff that we carried, the apartment complex buildings that they had in there, that I think most of them come 2 or 3 to a set. And of course, they all look like they're out of 1920 America, but which always seems strange for a sci-fi line of buildings, but it is what it is. And we sold the hell out of those. Out of all the kits that we sold, those were low and, over and over and over. Those were the kits that we sold the most of. So, well, I don't even think, there was maybe a couple of them that was kind of Art Deco, but there was a couple of them that were like, brownstones or whatever, that were, looked like they're out of, 1920s, 1930s, New York City or something like that. So not as sci-fi as I thought that they could be. So that's kind of what we're starting with, is we're trying to do more smaller building kits. So that, you have a chance to build bigger cities. Yeah, I was gonna say, I think the brownstones were like 3 packs, and there was a couple others that were 2 and 3. So, but that's really on these city boards, you can have 2 or 3 larger size or taller ones or whatever, but you want lots of buildings to really fill that up, to create these rows and streets and things like that. So, and they just look cool. It looks a lot cooler to have a board with lots of buildings and stuff on it. So that's what I'm really concentrating on here at the beginning. Because if you go look at the boards that are set up by people and stuff like that, the really cool ones are just packed with buildings. So, yeah, and that's the problem. So many of the N-scale kits, they're just not very science fiction looking. Even, I'm not saying that everything needs to look like it's, off deal, but there needs to be I don't know, a little more different look to what I would think you would find on Worlds. I don't think they're going to all copy 1920s New York City. So this is the apartment building / office building, whichever you want it to be. And it's MDF and it's mat board. MDF forms kind of the basis of it. Then the mat board puts some raised details and stuff on it. So this was a prototype that we built that hadn't been primered or anything, and we kind of changed up the. That's kind of cool. I guess it's got a little green to it. It's knocking out the top. Woo! So anyway, got rid of the top on it for that made it look like there was a McDonald's up on there, and then there's been some other things added to it since. Like this is an earlier version, but one of the things I wanted to do is, it's these are hard to paint, or can be, and so one of the things I want to do was have these things you could download and print out like on an inkjet printer and put on it to do your windows and glass and stuff like that to get it better. So that was kind of the deal, is I wanted it so you'd build the building, put on the window stuff, and then put the mat board over the top of it to block it in. So that's what I did. So I got that, and what I ended up doing is I built the building without putting the details on it, primered it, and then went from there, and then primered the mat board too, and then glued those on there. So this was this is kind of what I was talking about. I don't know how well it'll show up on here, but so these are it's just kind of light blue, kind of cloudy, the kind of reflections off of glass. It's really it's a hard thing to really come up with, but I thought it looked pretty cool. So that's what I did. So it worked out really good. The problem though is now yeah, that's like on this one. This one's going to have some other pieces that you can, if you didn't want to put the grill on top of it or whatever, you can put a helipad or whatever. So there are some pieces that's going to come with it for you to modify your buildings to do different things with them. So I got it primered. I glued on the inkjet windows and then put the primered mat board over the top of it to seal all the edges. Really like the effect. Gives me what I wanted to do and whatnot. But now that you've got the windows on there, and you want to go in and paint it, it's going to be very hard to if you want to do some washes, or I want to try the using weathering powders and stuff like that and not get your windows dirty. So I wasn't as wild about this after the fact. So then what I ended up doing on the new version, and that was the one I was going to cut out to show you. So, and we talked about it a little bit, but I'm going to go ahead and knock the windows out so that they are actually cut out and you'll be able to see through them. Then you can either leave them out if you want to, or you'll be able to print out that inkjet thing, and after it's all done, glue it on the inside of the building inside to cover up the windows. And I think it'll make it a little easier to putting it in there too, because cutting these up just right, and so that they'd fit all in between the mat board and everything. For a practice modeler or experienced modeler, it was relatively easy, but you would have problems with somebody new. So that's where we're at on those. I'll have the new version ready to go next week. Then I'll start. I'm going to try to get one put together and already painted up, but then start putting one together on the stream too while we're talking about. And then talk about some of the other buildings that we're planning on doing that'll work in good with like houses and do your suburbs buildings and stuff like that. Those are not going to be nearly they're kind of in this kind of size that we're kind of doing, and I envision those being a kit like a 10 or something like that, so you could build blocks of houses and stuff like that on some world. And then I'm looking at I'd like to do some shantytown kind of stuff too, stuff that you would find on a lesser world or, kind of built up. I really want to get some of those looks so that you can get kind of that dirty, grimy look, some desert look buildings to go with a lot of the desert stuff. Lots of stuff going on as usual. But I think I got my laser cutter fixed. So that part of it, that's good. What else? I've been writing on everything. We've been working on stuff. finishing up the last of the new cards for the initiative deck because we added to it. I've been waiting on new artwork so that we'd have more artwork for a lot of cards that we ran out of. So we should be getting that together pretty quick. And just kind of moving ahead from there. As far as dual cast, all I can say is we're getting closer. So we've run into a couple more problems. They're little problems that need to be addressed, but it's just with everything else going on, it gets worked on for a little bit and then it's moving off to the next project and not letting that one expire, get in the way. All right. What else? I talked a little bit last week. I'm in the process too. I'm going to get at least soon TM for sure. A week or a monthly game going over at our local game store in Wichita. I'm going to try for at least once a month. I may try to do one every 2 weeks or something like that. At least to start off with once a month and then kind of go from there. Hi, Chandler. How are you doing? I hear playing CAV helps bones knit back together. But man, I need something to do that. The doctor told me that I was looking at 12 to 16 weeks and there wasn't nothing that he could do to make it any faster or sucks. And it like tonight, getting down there and getting that thing jacked up and getting the pads underneath the feet and everything like that. And of course, I didn't want to be covered with dust and everything was done, so I'd have to do one and then move everything and do the next one. And each time progressively getting up, it got worse and worse and worse. I was like, oh, this sucks. So I need to say it's pretty sore. I'm looking forward to getting home and getting me a nice pain pill for the evening. I finally broke down the other night and subscribed to Apple Plus. I'm not a big Mac Apple kind of guy, so I was kind of trying to fight the deal, but they've got some really good series on there. They've got some that are coming. They've got Foundation, which if you ever read any of the Isaac Asimov books for that, they're pretty cool, and I really, really wanted to watch those. And I had heard a lot too about Ted Lasso. I've had several people tell me about it. Stories are coming up on the news or on the Yahoo and stuff about it all the time. So me and my wife started watching that last night. So we watched the first couple episodes of it, and good show. Enjoying it so far. Good. Did I miss anything good? I don't know. It's all subjective. Just been kind of talking about where we're at on doing things, kind of filling that in, give everybody a chance to show up, and then figured we would switch everything over to people's questions and go from there. Yes, Greyhound, right? The Tom Hanks movie, submarine movie. So that's on my list. So I'll keep it for a while. We'll see how it works. I really wasn't looking to add another one, but it is what it is. We're still much cheaper than when we had cables. But like I said, this rib thing's got me all gimped up too, and it sucks. Yesterday and today, it was. I finally had to. I've been trying to do house stuff in the mornings while it's cool, and then get out of the shop for the rest of the day into the evening. And yesterday and today, I couldn't do it anymore. It was hurting too bad. I needed to give it a rest. All right, so that's kind of me touching the bases of everything that's going on in CAV HQ land and Walker land. Uh, Questions? What would you guys like me to kind of go over tonight or talk about or blah, 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 blah? Because I am here for you. And starting next week for sure, I'm gonna get back into working on projects and stuff during the stream too. Watching James work on his buildings has really inspired me. I really like the way that those turned out. Buildings are hard to paint. They really are. To really get a good look to them, and James is knocking it out of the park, man. Here is a can of worms for you. Line of sight being blocked by a fellow CAV. Yes. Now, I don't know that it's a can of worms. It is what it is. Yeah. Yeah, it's only one worm. If you have, as far as uh, direct line of sight, if you're trying to sight through one of your mechs, one of your CAVs, and if he's in that line, then you can't see through him. And let's see, you were talking on the forms.ecm. Does the bubble of block target locks need to be over the model that wants to lock or over the target? Over the model that wants to lock. You want the enemy models to be in your bubble. Do you have to move everything first before doing combat, or you can do one at a time? Well, you need to, if you you want to do them in the order no, it's the enemy model. Yeah, you have to get the enemy model because you're interfering with his stuff. Because what the reason, because it used to be that way opposite Kruger in CAV, in second edition CAV, but what that caused was called the bubble. And by you giving it to your friendly models, the guy that had it would stay back, and then all the friendly models stayed inside that bubble. So wherever everybody moved as a group, and it was just kind of silly. So when we redid this for CAV Strike Ops, that was the first thing I did. Is you have to, that way you as the activating model have to get out there and actually interact with the enemy in order to block that. So Chandler, this it just depends on how you do it. If you go through and say, listen, this CAV, this CAV, this CAV, and this CAV are moving, okay? And then this CAV, this CAV, this CAV, and this CAV are shooting, okay? If you are at the time of your attacks and of your declaration, if you have line of sight, then you have line of sight to that model, okay? So it's just a matter of how you want to go about doing it. Where blocking comes in is if you start the activation and that model is blocking your line of sight, then you're going to have to move or move him in order to get your shot. If you have line of sight when you declare what you're doing, then you get your shot. And it's just how you want to look at it. If if you want to go through and declare everything and then move everybody and then do your attacks, you can do that. But normally what you would do is declare what you're going to do at the beginning. You don't have to show where you're moving. You just need to say, and you can still shoot at any point during your move. Yes. But that's if everybody's activating at the same time, then you get to do what you want to do. Or if there is a model that is in your way that's in another squad that's not activating, then you're going to have to move in order to get your shot. Or if you move to a point where you have line of sight blocked because of that model now, then you're going to have to do something different. So I have 4 units coming around a corner to target 2 different targets. Once they move independently, they would each have line of sight. But if I move everything first and then do combat, then they won't have line of sight. They do have line of sight because they all activated, and at the time that because all that happens at once. So all you have to do is, unless you're playing somebody that just wants to be overly anal, because if you need to, you can do them individually. All right, move and shoot, move and shoot, move and shoot, and be able to do exactly what it is you want to do. But if you as the player decide you want to move all 4 and then do your shots, even though you could have done it the other way and had your shot, you still get your shots. Sure, you can do one at a time. All you're supposed to do is at the beginning of the turn, at the beginning of the activation, you've got 4 CAVs, and they're all going to move and they're all going to shoot. All you have to do is say, action 1 for all 4 models is a move. Action 2 for all models is an attack. Okay? And then you can go through however you need to do it, however successful the way that you want to do it, then you'll be able to do what you do. Right. Well, yeah, and declare target. Well, I mean, when you combat this, I'm shooting this at this target. That would be the part of the shot. I just didn't go into the exact the minutia there. Right, and that's where it goes. Now, now here's a situation that could happen during an activation is, let's say that you, and this, Chandler, I'm kind of just thinking generalities, so it can get weird. Where, let's say though, you've got 4 and there's a they're in kind of a draw, and at the end of the draw, it gets wide enough for only one model. Okay. And so you say you're going to move, and all these guys are going to attack that guy. That could cause you a problem in that situation, because first off, if all 4 models don't currently have line of sight to that target, they have to move to get into there. Okay. But if the first CAV that you moves into that draw and can't get through that draw, then the other CAVs cannot move through him. And in that case, probably wouldn't be able to get their shot either. So what I'm trying to describe at the beginning is if all 4 of your guys currently have line of sight to the target, or they have line of sight at some point during their move, just because somebody got in the way, they didn't lose their shot, unless it's a situation where all of that comes together and stops anybody from ever getting line of sight. Then at that point, then you could have a problem. Right. You need to either have line of sight at the point where you're at the point where you're going to shoot, or at the beginning of your move, however you want to do that, or like that. But if you move somebody into a situation where there's no way for you to get line of sight, then you would block. Trying not to be confusing, but it always gets at the end of the night. It's kind of it can go either way. I guess that the basic of the situation is as if you can move, if you move the first guy in whatever order that you want to move him or whatever, and then you move the second guy, and if sometime during that move he has line of sight to your target, then regardless of where you end up, you get your shot, because you take the shot from the point that you could see him. All right. But if you move everybody to the point where then that he never had a chance to get a line of sight, then yes, then those models would block line of sight. Yes, a simple way to think of it is you need a line of sight where you take the shot. The point where you can see him is important. Yes. Without seeing the exact situation that you're in, Chandler, it's hard for me to visualize what you're saying. In my mind, you were asking, if this guy, whatever, I don't know. I'm not sure what you're asking. Because it is possible when you move your first guy, you should complete everything for that model. You shouldn't move the 4 models and then shoot the 4 models. All right. Now, if at the end of the, if that's going to work out that way, so that at the end of the move, all 4 guys can move and all 4 guys have line of sight, then it doesn't matter. Where it can matter is, like I said, in a situation where a model is moving and blocking, getting in the way of somebody, then that, because that model can't move through that other model or whatever. So there is an order that you want to sometimes take everything in. But generally, unless you're moving everybody in a conga line or you're getting into, like I said, a tight draw, or you're coming through a gate or something like that, or between woods, it's generally not an issue. Yeah, you move one at a time and shoot either that side of it, or like I said, as long as at some point during that move that they have a line of sight, then that's where the shot comes from. But I always try to finish everything for a model right away. I declare for all four, if there's four in the squad, and then complete the actions for each model before I go to the next one. The only time that I wouldn't do that would be if I was moving four models, and at the end of that, all four moves, all four of them still have line of sight to their target. Then I would probably just go ahead and move all four and then do their attacks. That way we're just doing everything at one time, because it really doesn't matter in that particular situation, because nobody's getting in each other's way. Moved everything and then attacked. Well, and that's what happens when you play against Ross. You know, it's just, you just have to be kind of, it's good to get in practice of doing it right. Because Ross is going to hold you to the coals, man. Hello, Tiger. It didn't help that he teamed up with Brandon. Well, as soon as I can, I will. I want to get down there and play with you guys. I'm either going to set up a games day down at Reaper, or I'll just plan on when I'm down there on a Thursday or whatever. When you guys are going to be there, I'll be there. But, and one of the things that came up, Kruger was talking on the forums about, if there's a particular hole in a faction or whatever that you think needs to be filled, make sure, make a note of that and let me know so I can look at it. I'm not going to try to, make you the perfect model every time to fit every hole in every situation, but I know that there's some holes that some people are missing. So kind of hard to screw up 5 heavy PBG to the face. Yeah. Those, once they get close, and if you can get away with overcharging them, overdriving them, it's ugly. I've seen a lot of 4 and 6 point hits. Bam. Well, and they might have already have. I know the Malverns had they had their kind of their buggy. I forget which one it is. That we had them ready for the Kickstarter, but we just didn't get to them. So I know there's some models that are out there like that. I do know that I had planned on, because I'm pretty sure the Scimitar, which right now is a metal mini, it's a Templar tank, but I believe it's an open model that anybody can use. I'm planning on going in and doing an updated version of that model to switch over into dual cast. And when I do that, I'm going to make a couple of variants of it. So there's the Seminar, or the Scimitar. Yeah, the Nomad. The Nomad is right. That's right, and the Raider. Yeah, models are done and ready for them. We just need to stick them in dual cast and go. But I'm going to take the Scimitar. I'm going to do an updated model for it for the dual cast, and then I'm going to do two versions of it, the Saracen and the Saladin, that I'll look for filling some holes because I believe they're open models. Yeah, people are asking me all the time about doing another Kickstarter, and I'd like to do one. They're fun. They really are. They're a lot of work, but we've had a lot of fun when we've done them and getting all that. And the problem though is we just can't do the great big ones anymore. It just breaks our backs. At least, and so we would have, because part of the problem is just in costs. Everything has gone up, and we really need to at the end of the day, unlike a lot of other companies now that use Kickstarter as a pre-sale, we actually used them to fund making molds. Now that we don't really need to do that anymore, it's hard to justify doing them in that direction, because we end up losing a lot of money, or leaving money on the table that would have been better served had we had people actually buy the figures from us at a more reasonable price that would have let us do a lot more models down the road. The Paladins will stay open, because those are kind of things we don't need a lot of artillery for every faction. Doesn't need 5 or 6 artillery specific models. I mean, and it's hard to make people understand how Kickstarter numbers work, because it's not a standard model of how you go out and make. But you just have to look at it from the standpoint of, if all you do is pledge $100 and you get 50 models for that $100, you're basically getting those models for 50 cents a piece. And or not 50 models. How did it work out? There was more than that. I forget how the exact numbers, but basically I think in the last Kickstarter you ended up getting them for, I don't know, 50, 60, 70 cents a model or whatever. Well, had we, you just take that into account, had we sold those at, $5 a piece, there was a lot of difference there between the Kickstarter price and retail price. You know, we sell a lot of that stuff to our base. And then down the road, if, you know, if we don't have regular stuff coming out, then it's nobody else wants those that are playing the game. So, you know, that's one of the reasons we moved away from it. Because for me to do a Kickstarter now on models or something like that, it would start off at a lot lower base and build into that. And unfortunately, with how people use Kickstarter now, it just, if you don't give away the kitchen sink, they just don't want to get into it. They just won't support it. In my mind, for us to do a Kickstarter, we would probably do like a $50 buy-in and do I don't know, maybe 12 models, something like that, off the top. You know, so, you know, at 12 models, you're basically getting them for $4 a piece, and then as it grows, then that goes in there. Kickstarter, Starhawk 7 Big Boy. Actually, we don't need to Kickstarter him. We're going to do him straight, and he is very, very close. We are actually printing up new pieces for him at the moment that we are going. Probably maybe next week we'll have him here to show. Actually, I meant to talk about him. Actually, I'm glad you brought that up. And once we have those done, he's coming pretty quick. We're just trying to finish out. We made some changes to him. Should I go ahead and put my order in? I wish. As we get closer, I'd love to pre-sell a bunch of them. But we've made some changes for him so they'd be a little easier to model up. And also we're trying to final decide on how we want to do all the pieces. My plan right now that I'm really pushing for is to do 2 or 3 of the larger pieces in resin, and then do whatever pieces that we can in dual cast, and make it make a kit out of the 2 of them. That way it keeps the cost way down on the overall price of the model. Because I would love to be able to get those out for, you know, 30 or 40 bucks a piece. Definitely keep them under 50 bucks. Yes, that I can definitely say and actually mean it and be able to keep to it. They will be ready well before Christmas. They are very, very close. I should legitimately have a prototype copy of him for next week. I think the only piece left to print up on him right now is the body. So, but looks really, really cool. What we'll end up doing is we'll print up this prototype. We'll scale it against the existing dictator, make sure that we've got all our numbers right there. Because since he is a new model, he's a 7 as opposed to the 6. He's a little different in the way he is structured. So it was hard to get right on the money to see where he is. So we kind of picked the number in the middle that we thought would be pretty close. So we're going to run him. We're running him at that size. We'll check him against the dictator to make sure he's scaled out right. And then at that point, we'll move ahead with production. But we should have this prototype will probably go out to be painted. So that we have some a color version of him. Just out of curiosity, what would you think be the next big boy? I would probably, I think maybe the Chancellor would be a cool one. I think either the Assassin or the White would be a cool one to do. The Crusader would be a neat one to do. The Concussion, I think the Concussion would be a neat, fun one to do too. Duelist, yeah, no, the Duelist could be a really good one. I've kind of stayed away from the assaults. I'm not really ready to do the big daddy ones, the 12 pointers yet. Just they'll be quite a bit bulkier and bigger than what we're doing right now. So it's just a matter of seeing how it goes. And it needs to see how this next one does. I mean, we had good sales on the Dictator, but they got spread out. You know, I mean, they got spread out over 2 years. Hello? Says I'm still going. Hello, testing. I was gonna say, mine shows that I'm still going. Sorry, Kruger. Tag. It's you. I blew his speakers out. What it was. Boom. Like, ah. The cool thing too is, you know, one of the things that I want these to work with is, you know, if we end up doing a skirmish style, you know, infantry style game that these could be in, I think the assaults wouldn't work nearly as well in those, the supers, as, you know, the stuff in the 8, 9, 10 range would be. Time for the old log off and log back in. We'll make it quick. We only got 7 more minutes. All right, so what else? What else would you like me to cover in the last 7 minutes of the deal? I do plan on, like I said, I plan on next week getting back into working on projects while we talk, so. Playing out a game. I've been getting the game board set back up. Trying to do a little bit different camera rig for it. And if you're close to the Wichita, Kansas area over the next week and you want to come by and do landscaping with me, you are invited. Come on down. Are there any more patches coming out? Yeah, we'll do some more patches down the road. I plan on getting all the faction patches, or I think are on my plan next. We did stickers for him. It'd be cool to do patches for him. The main thing is finishing up the initiative deck. that's a high thing on the list to get finished up. I think that I want that to be ready for the rules update when it comes out. And make sure, I know that it came up on the deal is the rules update is not a new rule book. It is the current rules with the errata and a couple other changes all put in one place as a PDF that you can download so that you have it all in one place. Yes, the initiative deck is going to add additional cards that will grow a deck. So even if you're playing just a squad versus squad, that'll make a deck have at least 6 cards in it. So it'll make it easier to shuffle, change it up a little bit, make where recon, their ability is not so devastating in a small game, and add kind of a couple of new elements to it as well, because there's going to be event cards and tactics cards and stuff like that that go into the deck. I believe you get one normal initiative card for each squad. You'll get one tactics card for each squad, and then both sides each get one event card to put in the deck, period. So if you had a squad versus squad, that's where 6 cards would be. Each of you would have your normal card, your tactic card, and then your event card. Even though there's only 2 squads to draw, so every turn 4 cards will be ignored, depending on the order how they come out. Do you by chance have any more of the Templar swag bags left? I'm sure that there's probably enough stuff. So if you bring 4 squads, you'll have 9 cards. Yes. Generally, most of your pickup games and stuff are running in the 2 and 3 squad to a side. So, at 2 squads, that gives everybody, 5 cards. So that'd make a 10-card deck. So a lot easier to shuffle and a lot more randomness in there. So if both of you each had 4 squads, it would be an 18-card deck. Not necessarily the event cards, but the tactic cards do. The tactic cards actually influence that particular activation for your 4 models, or however many you're activating. So, you may get a bonus that activation or something like that, or whatever. Different things that happen. Maybe ECM gets a better range or something, or gets a boost. And at the end of your activation, it goes away. An event card affects everybody. So if the event card comes up, in this case, there'll be a black event card and a red event card. So whoever is black or red, that's their activation. But then the event card goes into play, and it activates against everybody until the next event card is drawn. So if you draw an event card at the very beginning of turn 1, and then nobody draws an event card till turn 3, that event stays in play during turn 1, 2, and 3. The only way an event card is discarded or is turned off is when another event card comes up of a different, that changes it. So you go 3 turns with that event going on, and then turn 4, that event comes up again, then it just keeps going. Can you turn off Ross's dice? You ought to make him, you ought to say either, I think that I I don't know if it's in the rules or if we've just talked about it before, is if you think that maybe those dice are being unfair, maybe, that you can he either has to switch out dice or he has to let you use his dice. You never know with Ross. They might be Bluetooth. All right. Well, we have come to the witching hour, gentlemen, ladies. It is 9 p.m. Any last minute things that you need to sneak in for me to answer right quick? Or other than that, hang in there. We are chipping away as fast as we can chip away. There's just so many things going on. I don't want to 100% tell you that Chris is going to be here Saturday since he's missed the last two. And I don't find out about it till that morning. Hopefully he will be back this Saturday. I'm working on some of the projects. If not, if I can, I'll be here. If not, I'll be back Wednesday. Tune in Monday for JS Twitch and see if he's finally got the prescription to get rid of it. Maybe. All right, everybody, take care. Thanks for being here. Thank you for your support. And we'll go from there. I'm betting it will involve the color yellow. He seems to be very yellow biased for sure. All right, good night, everybody.